Ooh, what's up, nerds and geeks? My name is OMG WTF LOL FTWBRB. Welcome back to more Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. We are playing as the WWF in the year 2002. I'm gonna mess that up a bunch, watch. But not this time. Either way, in the year 2002, we are booking the first show, the first Nitro. I shouldn't say show, the first Nitro of 2002. And who would have thought? Who would have thought that last year in 2001, when everyone saw Nitro close their doors, everyone saw how WCW was just going downhill, who would have thought that Nitro would still be around here in 2002? What a lovely time to be alive. Of course, not really under the WCW banner, but still around. But enough with the banter over here. Let us just jump into the show. We got a couple of pre-show matches here. The Sandman has returned. So here's our test, as I usually do to people who return from rehab. Hopefully that 38 is just because you suck, and not because you're drunk again, because I will send your ass back to rehab. Either way, I don't know if you heard that jingling, but my cat just went running for no reason. Anyway, pre-show bout that had subpar wrestling and little heat to it. Vampiro defeating Sandman. I should say Vampiro not only defeating, but carrying Sandman in 6 minutes, 5 seconds with the nail in the coffin because of 57C-. Yeah, Vampiro definitely carried Sandman here, but it did help, of course, that Vampiro and Sandman had a pretty good chemistry, so. We already commented on Sandman's 38, but Vampiro with a 63, so you know what? He's good. Alright, here we go. No drugs, he just sucks. Okay, we're good. We then end off the pre-show with, honestly, a great match, even though it says a decent pre-show match. Solid 80B, I did not expect from Eddie Guerrero versus Ron Simmons. Either way, Eddie Guerrero going over Ron Simmons with the frog splash after 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Both Guerrero and Ron Simmons with an in-ring performance of a 77 here tonight. We open up the show with a 100 A-star. Thursday Night Nitro opens up with the former WWF Intercontinental Champion, the 2001 King of the Ring, Chris Benoit, making his way down toward the ring, of course, alongside his mentor/manager, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Once in the ring, Flair takes the mic and he taps the mic. He does the whole little tell you make sure it's on. He's like, "Is this thing working?" And then he clears his throat. The whole He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, the savior of WCW, my protege, the Canadian crippler, Chris Benoit." That's when Benoit steps forward. Of course, he looks at the crowd, basking in his gloriness, before taking the mic from Ric Flair, and he goes, "Hey, you heard the man. He said the savior of WCW has the mic now, so shut up and listen. I've always been WCW's savior, even before I left the WWF for them. The only problem is management didn't see that. They didn't see that I was the savior until I was ready to walk. You see, management thought by kissing my ass on the way out was the only way that I was going to stay. But no. I walked because, you see, Chris Benoit only goes where his talents are appreciated, which is exactly why I jumped ship back to WCW, because just like the old management in WCW, Vince McMahon never saw what I was truly capable of until it was too late. And now look at the repercussions. Since leaving the WWF, not only did WCW successfully take over SmackDown and bring back Nitro, but I went on to win the King of the Ring for WCW and the War Games for WCW, ensuring their entry into the Royal Rumble. Now, of course, if I was going to be in the Rumble this year, I'd go on to win that too, and main event WrestleMania, but that's okay, because I'll still be main eventing Mania this year. Because, as your 2001 King of the Ring, I was guaranteed a title shot at the Royal Rumble, the first time ever a King of the Ring has ever been guaranteed a title shot. And let's talk about the Rumble, because, not only is it the first time the King of the Ring gets their title shot, but this is the first time that there are two world titles up for grab, two world titles to choose from. Both the WWF World Championship and the WCW World Championship, and I've been given a choice. Now, of course, my boss, Shane McMahon, wants me to go after you, Rock, because despite The Undertaker winning his match on Raw and on Armageddon, I've still got options. But I wouldn't sweat it, dead man, because I'm out here to tell everyone that as the savior of WCW, that I will be facing and beating Kurt Angle at the Royal Rumble to bring WCW's top gold back home. And then that's when you hear, "Can you dig it, sucker?" And out comes Booker T, the former WCW World Champion, who makes his way down to the ring, and he says, "What the hell you doing, man? This ain't what Shane and us talked about. The deal was, you go after Rock, and I go after Angle. That way WCW will hold both the belts. Don't let your ego get in the way of that, savior." Benoit, still, we all know he's got a bit of an ego growing. He is the mentor of the Nature Boy. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of ego there. He replies by saying, "Yeah, you see, Book, that wasn't the deal. That was the plan. And plans change. You see, Book, you've had your chance. Twice, actually. And you've lost to Kurt twice. We would never be even in this match. We wouldn't even be in this mess. I don't know why I put match. If you didn't drop the title to him. Or, if you could actually just finish the job." And then Book goes on to reply to, Chris, because things are getting a little tense here now, Nerds and Geeks. "Yeah? And what about Taker, Chris? What about being a savior? Or you talk about being a savior, but any time you stepped up to the dead man, your shoulders end up on the mat. And let's not forget King of the Ring, War Games. I wasn't in any of them, because I was too busy carrying WCW on my back, sucker, as the face. And if I was in King of the Ring, if I was in War Games, you're damn right I would have won them." Yeah? You think, Book? I guess we'll never know, but what we do know is that you can't beat Kurt. And you know what else? We know that Kurt can't beat Benoit. Face it, the only way that WCW is getting its title back is through its savior. And that's when finally we hear, "Here comes the money." And the owner of WCW, Shane McMahon, comes out and he says, "All right, that's enough, guys. We're so close to our end goal, we can't fall apart now. And Book, before you say it, I know what the plan was, I know what we discussed, but Chris has got his point. When we look at the history, you've never beaten Kurt. Kurt's beaten you for the United States Championship, for the WCW World Championship, and both times you tried to get those titles back. Chris has never lost to Kurt. Anytime Kurt Angle has stepped up to Chris, Kurt's lost. So Chris may be our best option to get our title back. But speaking of our titles, there's one more title out there that's in the wrong hands, and that's the United States Championship, being held by Edge." And then, again, that's when Benoit goes, "Another title you lost, Kurt." Or Book, excuse me. And Shane quickly puts an end to that real quick. He goes, "Enough, Chris. Like I was saying, I'm not happy that both Edge and Kurt Angle have WCW gold despite being WWF guys. So tonight, you two are going to have to learn how to get along, because you two will team up to face the two pretend champions in our main event tonight." And I'd imagine maybe a little bit of like, what? Both superstars being like, no, not happening. But Shane's like, "Yeah, that's happening, and we have our main event tonight, which puts the WCW World Champion, Kurt Angle, and the WCW United States Champion, Edge," which Shane pointed out as being both WWF guys, taking on not only the number one contender to the the WCW World Championship, Kurt Angle, but the former WCW champion, Booker T. And I said Kurt Angle, I meant Chris Benoit. Either way, though, Jim Ross, JR, good old JR, lifted the locker room tonight when he organized the poker tournament. It didn't say he won, it just said he organized, so he probably lost. And then Austin, of course, passing on psychology to his protege, Rhino. Apparently, we're supposed to fix Austin's gimmick. I'm not sure if I did that. I don't believe Austin's even on the show, though, so it doesn't matter. Bobby Heenan was weak, which we've known about. Great start, which I mean 100-day star. Duh. We lead into our next segment here, which gets a 69C+. This is before the commercial break. And we see, we see Hugh Morris. He's backstage. He's unpacking his things back in his locker room. He's getting ready for the night because the show's still just open. That was the opening segment, so superstars are still just kind of rolling in and all that. And that's when his tag team partner, Chris Kanyon, comes in. He's all excited. He's like, "Did you see the card for the night? Or did you see the did you see the card for the night yet?" I don't know if I said that right, but whatever. He's excited, so it doesn't have to make sense. And he was just like, "Whoa, no, what's going on? Why are you so happy, man?" And then Canyon's like, "Well, I hate to play spoiler, but you and I, buddy, got ourselves #1 contenders match for the WCW Tag Team titles." And he was like, "Really? That's amazing. You see, well, I told you, Canyon. Hard work really does pay off in the end." And then Canyon's like, yeah, all right, look, Hugh. We need this win. We've had countless title shots, and we've come up short every time. Tonight, we need to show all these other teams that Canyon and Hugh Morris mean business." And then Hugh Morris is like, "You're damn right. So who are the unlucky suckers tonight?" And then Canyon goes, "The Flock. Now get ready." And that's probably when the camera pans back to Hugh Morris, who's all excited and is now just like, "We're facing who? The Flock? What?" But there you have that. Canyon came across well, which, to be honest, I'll tell you guys right now, post-invasion, because the invasion angle is going to have to end at some point. Post-invasion, Canyon's most likely going to get a pretty big push. He's someone that's been impressing me. To the fact that I've actually become a fan of him in real life. Isn't that the funny thing? Before we move on to the next segment, I want to ask any of you guys, playing any Total Extreme Wrestling games, has there ever been a wrestler that you booked? You never really knew who they were, or you just didn't really care about them before, but because you booked them and they were pretty strong and they became one of your more favorite people to book in that save? Do you ever like that transition into real life, like you started becoming more of a fan to them? Because that's happened actually quite a lot to me. I won't lie. We then lead into our opening match, which, holy crap, who would have thought this would have done that well? Solid C with a 62 rating here. And about that had decent wrestling, but little heat to it. The WCW Cruiserweight Champion, Billy Kidman, going over Funaki in 5 minutes 39 seconds when Funaki was disqualified after Vampiro ran in and attacked Billy Kidman. I'd imagine maybe Vampiro attacking Funaki as well. We've got a nice match here between Billy Kidman and Funaki. And Vampiro coming out and running in and attacking. And if memory serves me right, if any of you guys remember from Monday Night Raw, Raven said, if you see something you want, take it. And I think we all know what Vampiro kind of wants right now if he's targeting Billy Kidman. Funaki's getting better at his gimmick, so that's awesome. Billy Kidman with a 63 and Funaki with a 55, so my boy Funaki is definitely getting up there. Billy Kidman's also improving in performance as we lead into the next segment here, which goes into a 75 B-. We continue on from there. This is just a freestyle segment, so nothing wrote. I can, pretty much explain it to you guys myself. Vampiro, as we already noticed, he came out. He was beaten down on Billy Kidman because, presumably, he wants the Cruiserweight Championship. And I'm just going to put it out there for you. We can already see the storyline there. Yeah, he wants the Cruiserweight title. Spoiler report. And he's beaten down on Billy Kidman, maybe even taking the title and whipping him with it. Bossman and Perry Saturn, of course, who are the, have a #1 contenders match up next against Canyon and Morris, come out and join in on the fun. So now we have Vampiro, Bossman, and Perry Saturn all beaten down on Billy Kidman, which leads to, Bossman and Perry Saturn's opponents, the other challengers for contenders for the #1 contendership. I don't know what really can call that. Canyon and Hugh Morris racing down to the ring, making the save, battling it out with Perry Saturn and Bossman. Kidman, probably getting back up and fighting back from Vampiro, sending the Flock out of the ring, and maybe we go from a commercial break, and then we come back to the whole, we're already in mid-match here between Canyon and, so on and so forth. Crowd got hotter for this. Canyon was good. The game is pointing it out more and more. They're pointing it out to me. So like I said, probably back from a commercial break. We're like mid-match probably in here. 78 solid B rating here as we have a decent match. Canyon and Hugh Morris going over to Flock in 9 minutes 52 seconds when Hugh Morris defeats Bossman after a botched interference from Perry Saturn. In terms of in-ring performance, once again, it's Canyon's night, guys. Head and shoulders above everybody else. The way I'd imagine this happening, as you can see, it says botched interference here. I'd imagine at one point, Perry Saturn running in. There's no title, so he can't hit him with that. But he's running in with something to, some sort of weapon probably because they're the flock. Referee's probably down at the moment to hit Canyon with it. Canyon ducks it. He hits Bossman, maybe like with a steel chair, and that like dazes him as he's standing up. Hugh Morris rushes in and takes out Perry Saturn. Canyon hits him with the flatliner. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Oh, Hugh Morris actually beat Bossman, so never mind. Canyon went on to, take out Perry Saturn, I guess, and Hugh Morris rolled him up for the win. Either way, Perry Saturn and Bossman have great chemistry, which we've known about. Bossman with a 59, Perry Saturn with a 66, Canyon with an impressive 83. Calm down. And Hugh Morris with a 73. I don't know what I've done, Nerds and Geeks. I don't know how I've done it. But somehow, some way, Chris Canyon and Hugh Morris have gotten over under my watch. So that goes ahead. That goes ahead and confirms it. At the Royal Rumble, Chris Canyon and Hugh Morris will battle Mark Jindrak, not Mark Henry, but that's a spoiler report for tonight that Mark Henry's on the show. Mark Henry and Sean Stasiak, Power Plant, for the WCW Tag Team titles. And usually we've seen, like WCW and WWF guys battle over championships, but we're actually seeing 2 WCW teams go at it. Close this out. Perry Saturn's improving in technical. Everybody's gone now. We then lead into Raven. Raven's now making his way down to the ring. Like I said, Canyon and Hugh Morris have celebrated. They're out. Raven's making his way down to the ring. Or, he was probably already there. I guess he's managing them. I think I put that in here. Either way, Bossman and Saturn, they're arguing because, Perry Saturn hit Bossman, so he's the reason they lost. Vampiro's just kind of in the background watching, not really caring. Raven gets in the ring and he says, "All right, you two, that's enough. Get over it. I'm about to make you both, in fact, all 3 of you, an offer you won't want to refuse." You see this hardcore title? He then drops it on the ground. This title is meaningless to me. The title is no more than an object. But I can see that you 3 are too stupid to see that. You 3 like the attention that comes with it, don't you? Well, I'll tell you what. And I know I said it throws him, but it's already on the ground, so Raven just probably kicks it towards him in the middle of the ring, and he says, "I don't want it. So you 3 can fight like dogs for it while I watch. So make it violent, boys." And then Raven gets out of the ring, and we have ourselves, I guess, an impromptu hardcore title match. As we can see, we were supposed to vacate the title in this, but then I was getting the whole notification about, oh, the hardcore championship is, because the hardcore title's on the line there, but Raven was still champion technically because we haven't vacated it yet. So I went ahead and vacated it myself. I just didn't pick this because I figured it wouldn't matter. Either way, title is vacated. Raven is no longer a hardcore champion as he tosses the title in the ring for the 3 male members of the flock, or the 3 other male members of the flock, to battle over it. Perry Saturn is getting better at his gimmick as we lead into the triple threat match, which gets a 70C plus rating here. We have a bout that had decent wrestling, but not much Wayne Heat. Bossman gets his win back as he goes over Vampiro and Perry Saturn. I said Bossman's name really loud there. Sorry for shouting that in your head. Bossman going over Vampiro and Perry Saturn in 9 minutes 35 seconds, getting his kind of a little bit of a vengeance after getting the victory over Perry Saturn. So Saturn cost him the tag title. So he goes on to beat Saturn for the hardcore title with the Bossman Slam, not Bubba Slam, to win the hardcore championship. Vampiro was off his game, which is unfortunate. All 3 of these guys had, competed tonight. I just realized that. Bossman with a 58, Vampiro with a 63, and Perry Saturn with a 66. So Bossman wins the hardcore championship. Vampiro is improving in performance. As we move on to the next segment here. Again, another freestyle. Gets a 67C plus. Raven gets in the ring. He raises Bossman's hand in victory. Bossman's the new hardcore champion, and then Raven kicks him in the gut. Hits him with the Raven effect, whether it be a pile driver or a DDT. I could care less what 2 thinks. I don't really care. He then goes on to pin him. 1, 2, 3. Winning back the hardcore championship. So pretty much, he put them all through that just to get the hardcore title back. That's Raven for you. We then go on to next inning, probably coming back from a commercial here. In fact, most likely. 100 A star. Hell yes. Giants music hits, and out comes the world's largest athlete, who makes his way down to the ring, and once in the ring, he takes the mic and he goes on to talk before he's interrupted by the chants of DDP, 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 stuff like that. Giant goes, "You people think you're funny. You're real funny, don't you? Shut up. You think DDP beat me? No. DDP survived me. But that's not why I'm out here. Because you see, thanks to myself and 4 other individuals inside the War Games, WCW's allowed entry in this year's Royal Rumble. And because of that, 4 of the superstars, including myself, who won that match for WCW, have been given spots in this year's Royal Rumble. And I'm out here to officially announce my entry into the 2002 Royal Rumble. And that's before he can go on, because this is kind of a monotonous promo. Before he can really go on, Diamond Dallas Page goes on to interrupt him. So even though we know what he was going on to say, he never really got to finish his announcement, I guess. And DDP comes out and he says, he's clapping. And he's like, "Congratulations, Giant. But let's go back real quick. No, not to the part where I beat you, which I did, but back to the part where you said 4 of the 5 superstars who rep WCW in the War Games got a spot in the Rumble. So that would mean you, of course, the Steiners and Flair, since Benoit." Hold on. We got to go to our second promo here. Since Benoit is challenging for the title, I guess he's out. And then Giant's like, "Great job, genius. You figured it out. Now why are you out here?" And then Page is like, "Well, you know, if that's so, and only you 4 were offered spots into the Rumble, how exactly did I get my entry into the Rumble then, too?" And then Giant's like, "What? No, you didn't." And then Page is like, "Oh, yeah, I did. So guess what, Giant? Not only are you out here to announce your entry into the Royal Rumble, but I'm out here to announce that for the first time ever, Diamond Dallas Page will be entering the Royal Rumble, and it's going to be an absolute bang!" And his music goes off as Giant just sits there all pissed and angry looking because he thought only him and the other, him, the Steiners, and Ric Flair were all going to be in the Rumble. He didn't think anybody else really was, I guess. I guess he's a little delusional like that. But also, we now know at least 5 of WCW's participants, which I guess if we're going by half-seas, they now only have 10 more. So we know the Giant, Scott, Rick Flair, I should say Rick Steiner and Ric Flair, because there's 2 Ricks there, and now Diamond Dallas Page. Chris Benoit would have been in it, but he's challenging for the title. Bobby Heenan's still weak. So we move on to a 74B- backstage segment here. I didn't type it in here, but I kind of regret not typing in, so I'm just going to tell you guys, because I want to make this a thing. Chavo and Eddie Guerrero are backstage hanging out, but I'd like to imagine that they're backstage hanging out, driving around in golf carts. Don't ask me why. I have that image. I think back to like WrestleMania 17 when Kane and, Big Show and Raven were all, driving in the golf carts in the hardcore match. So I just imagine them having some fun backstage, drive around in golf carts, and then, pulling to the side, maybe bumped into each other because that's what they were doing. And then Eddie's like, they're catching their breath, whatever, and he's like, "Hey, you know what I've been thinking about a lot, Chavo?" And then Chavo's like, "What's that?" And then Eddie's like, "Well, we've got a United States title. We've got a Canadian title. How come there's no Mexican title? I mean, Mexico has given a lot back to the sport. Just look at how big Lucha Libre has become. How well-respected masked wrestlers have become, but yet we're still treated like the third world of wrestling. You know what, Holmes? I got an idea. Follow me." And we see them, pull off in their golf carts as we don't know what the hell's going on, but they're going off as Eddie Guerrero came across well here. Chavo performed poorly. As we go into our next match here, probably leading back from a commercial break. 78 solid B rating here. Decent matchup. ECW's Rob Van Dam going over the WCW Canadian champion Lance Storm after the 5-star frog splash. After a distraction from Eddie and Chavo. It's supposed to say Eddie and Chavo because Chavo's in there too. So let me explain what's happening here. Lance Storm and, RVD, they're having a great matchup here. Decent match, I guess. Back and forth action. Even contest. Looking good. And that's when we see Eddie and Chavo come rolling down on their golf carts. And like Eddie said, there's no Mexican championship. There's a United States Championship, there's a Canadian Championship, so Eddie and Chavo do what Eddie and Chavo do, and that's, well, steal. They lie, they cheat, they steal, and tonight they're going to be stealing. As they come out to the ring with their golf carts, go on into, take the Canadian Championship. It's kind of similar to, Lance Storm, as he took the European Championship and made it the Canadian Championship, and they're driving off with it. And that distracts Lance Storm enough for RVD to take him down with, I don't know, maybe one of his kicks. Hits him with the 5-star frog splash, 1, 2, 3, gets the victory. Lance Storm with a 77 in-ring performance, Rob Van Dam with a 75 in-ring performance. We then move on to our next segment here, which gets a 73 in-ring performance here, as we got Mean Gene backstage with Chuck Palumbo, and he says, "Hello fans, Mean Gene here, and and joining me at this time is Chuck Palumbo and his manager, Stacy Keibler. Now, Chuck, these past couple of months haven't been kind to you. You failed multiple times to bring the United States Championship back to WCW, and you even lost Stacy as your manager for a while there. But after your victory over ECW's Rob Van Dam at Armageddon, things are starting to look up, and many are wondering what exactly is next for Chuck Palumbo, especially with the Royal Rumble on the horizon." And then Chuck goes on to say, "Well, you see, Mean Gene, you're not wrong. For a while there, I started looking more like Sean O'Hare instead of like Chuck Palumbo. But after Stacy left, it opened my eyes, and now I see what I was missing. I was missing that ruthless aggression. I'm going to do..." But what's next for Chuck Palumbo? I'll tell you what's next. I'm going to do the one thing I couldn't do before, and that's bring the United States Championship back to WCW. And then he just wanders off as Mean Gene apparently performed poorly, and he's just like, "Back to you, Tenay." And Chuck Palumbo developing better performance skills. Good on him. We then go to another freestyle segment, which I can just explain to you. 67C Plus is Lance Storm. He's wandering around backstage. He's angry. He's just like, "Where's Eddie? Where's Chavo?" He's wondering where Los Guerreros are. Nobody knows where the hell Eddie and Chavo are. And that's pretty much just it. Just a nice little transition segment showing Lance Storm is indeed looking for Eddie Guerrero, but he can't find him. We then go into a solid 60C here in an extremely short match. The Steiner brothers going over Mark Henry and Monty Brown, the alpha male Monty Brown. And 4 minutes, 12 seconds after Scott Steiner defeats Mark Henry with the Steiner device. Of course, Scott Steiner was head and shoulders above everybody else, with Mark Henry being the weak link here. Mark Henry and Monty Brown is a team I created for developmental. I believe I called them the franchise. I feel like they'd work well. They'd be a nice team. Mark Henry not suited to his gimmick, and he was really off his game here tonight, which sucks. Rick and Scott, of course, have great chemistry. Not enough selling here shown, which, that's fine. I don't really care. Scott Steiner's performance stood out, which, okay. Rick Steiner with a 76, Scott Steiner with a 99, Monty Brown with a 47, and Mark Henry's with a 32. That's not too bad. I mean, Sandman got a 38, and he's on the main roster. Monty Brown's improving in technical as we move on to the next segment. So just a quick squash match for Scott and Rick Steiner from some of our developmental talents. We go on to a solid 80B, as after the match, Scott takes the mic, and he says, "Test, Albert, this past week on Raw, we did what we've been doing for months now, and that's whooping your two asses. But you see, things have changed now. You see, before, you two weren't worth our time. We tried to get rid of you in the War Games because we knew you didn't belong. But somehow, someway, you two have found your way back to Tag Gold, and now that my brother and I don't have any other things holding us back, let's just put it out there. Test, Albert, we haven't held those titles since '93. An 8-year hiatus ends at the Royal Rumble, because whether you like it or not, we're coming for those damn titles." And Scott Steiner looked good. I guess we can go ahead and book it in, even though it's not officially booked in. But we know where this is all going. This rivalry's been going on for a couple of months here now, as we will see it conclude. I guess really not conclude. There is potential it could go on, I presume. Alright, so, whatever. Either way, WWF Tag Team titles on the line. As the Steiners mentioned it, they haven't held these titles in 8 years. And they'll be looking for another reign. I believe this would be their third reign as the WWF Tag Team Champions. That's, of course, if they can win it, though, because Test and Albert are damn good competitors. I mean, you're looking at the team who beat Stone Cold and Rhino. And they just got those titles back, so it's gonna be a damn good match though. I'm excited to see how those that would be a good match in real life, I feel like. A hard hitting brawl between them. Hell yeah. Rick Steiner's improving in acting. Scott Steiner looked good. We then go on to an 87p plus here because I didn't really use Goldberg because, I mean, I'll just go ahead and let you guys know right now. Goldberg doesn't have a storyline for the Royal Rumble. Goldberg is going to be in the Rumble, so his main storyline is that, as you can see right down there, is the Royal Rumble 2002. And we just go on to, nice little segment here. Just pretty much a video highlighting, Goldberg's match against Jericho and, all that jazz. And saying that next week Goldberg's got an announcement to make, which I'll go ahead and spoil it. He's going to be announcing he's in the Royal Rumble, obviously. We then go on to our main event of the night, which gets an 83B+, and a bout that had superb wrestling and great heat to it. Chris Benoit and Booker T somehow find their way to work together as they go over Kurt Angle and Edge when Benoit defeats Kurt Angle by pinfall after a distraction from Chuck Palumbo, who comes out and attacks Edge. So I'd imagine, referee probably being distracted at this point. Chuck Palumbo comes out and pulls Edge down. Maybe Angle was looking for a tag. I guess the referee wouldn't be distracted then. But either way, he pulls Edge down from the apron and just tosses him into the steel steps. This leads to Chris Benoit maybe hitting a German suplex, bridging German suplex maybe. 1, 2, 3 gets the victory. So Benoit continues his winning streak over Kurt Angle. Booker T with an 88, Chris Benoit with a 94, Edge with an 83, and Kurt Angle with a 93. Good match, guys. Booker T's improving in performance as we end off the show to get an 84B+ here. Ooh, apparently we didn't have enough attractive women on the show to satisfy our core male audience. That sucks. I could have swore we had Stacy and all that, but I guess there just wasn't enough angles. Huh. We didn't lose popularity, though, so it's not that bad. But we didn't gain, so I'm not really tripping. Bunch of perverts. This show sucks. There's not enough tits. I guess that's a legit valid thing for most men. Look at this. Mike Rotundo out of shape. Who would have thought? He's only how old? 43? That's actually not that bad. Oh, look, Horace Hogan. XPW got Big Dick Dudley. Good stuff going on all around here. Now what do we got here? Oh, just drug tests. Get out of my face. But what do we have here? Oh, the contract negotiations. That's right. So we were negotiating with Bull Buchanan because he's been kind of impressive. So we gave him another 3 years. There we go. And what? Excuse me? Oh, where's he at? I thought he was there. OVW, I'm sorry. There we go. Complete contract, thank you. OVW. Then we're hiring Cesaro and Matt Striker. Cesaro's 20. Matt Striker is 27. Give him a shot. What do we want to send Cesaro? You know what? We're going to send Cesaro to NWA just because NWA is the hot zone. And Matt Striker will go to HWA. We're still waiting on negotiations with everybody else, so it looks like we're bringing in Nova and Melissa as well. I think I went to my hidden gems or something, and that's why. Right? Let me go real quick. Where's the creative meeting? I mean, it's not going to show it anymore, but we go to Hidden Gems. I think, yeah, Cheerleader and Melissa, and that's why those guys all got hired. Now I remember. Either way, though, Nerds and Geeks, that's going to be the end of this episode. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor. Leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, my name is OMG WTF LOL FTW BRB, and I will see you guys for Sunday Night Heat, everybody's favorite show. So until then, you all have yourselves a wonderful